Good afternoon, everybody. Jim Flieler, Vice President of Sales in Canada for Charlotte Products. Thanks for joining us on this small YouTube. During our pandemic webinar series, we've been talking about scientific validation, and I wanted to take a couple of minutes today and really show you an ATP meter. This is a hygiena model. It measures relative light units found in organic matter, and generally it's a numerical system. The higher the number, the higher the risk. Okay, it's been a long-standing tool used in healthcare settings, it's been used in food processing settings, and it's really a scientific validation, a quick way to really go throughout a facility and measure within 15 seconds what your numbers are and whether you're gaining, in other words, increasing cleanliness and lowering the risk in a facility, or maybe you're going the wrong way. So it's a good device that's used from custodians can use it, janitorial people, supervisory can use it, any kind of validation with your standard operating procedures, you can adapt it that way. So I'll tell you about the numbers. If it's generally between 0 and 10, and check all of your brands of ATP meters because they'll have a different scale sometimes. From 0 to 10 is deemed very sanitary, usually reflects what an operating room setting would be. If it's between about 11 and 20, that'll generally be food processing facilities. Obviously deemed very sanitary and safe for human consumption and that in a facility. And generally, if you're doing an office building, anywhere where the public comes in and out, restaurants, whatever that may be, it'll be between 30 and 50 depending on your actual criteria, and sometimes infection control will dictate that actual number, and that's fine. But if you're above 50, you really need to revisit your cleaning practices and those types of surfaces. So good motivational tool for your custodial people, good benchmark that they're gaining, they're improving constantly, reward them accordingly if that's the case. So that's really the device, and let me take a couple of minutes and we'll show you how it actually works. Okay, so I'll show you how this works. So this is our ATP swab. It's just like an industrial Q-tip. I've turned the machine on so it actually starts to calibrate. And what you'll say is this is a cell phone here. This is not my cell phone, but what I'm doing is taking a concentrated area, and as I swab, I'm actually rotating the swab about 360 degrees. So I'm getting a good coverage there of that surface. Okay, I take the swab, there's a little tab I want to break. That puts the fluid down, the reaction fluid. Simply take and shake it for about 10 or 15 seconds. I've got my meter ready to go. Just simple as this, insert it, boom, and press OK. So what you can see there now is there's a 15-second countdown, and that's actually measuring it. So what we're going to see now is we're going to have a scientific number that is our benchmark, our starting point. So you're going to see here in about 2 seconds that I've got 966. And if you remember what I said earlier, the risk area is anywhere 30, 40, and 50. So obviously this phone, which is not my phone, okay, has failed. Okay, so that's our starting point. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually clean this, and I have my gloves on because I have a little bit of a disinfectant solution in here, and you want to follow your PPE. So I'm going to take this phone, and I've got my microfiber cloth. I just want to fold it over properly, and I'm just simply going to apply the disinfectant. Okay, give it a good wipe and a little bit of friction, and now I'm going to let it sit for the required dwell time that the disinfectant needs to dwell, that's indicated by the label. So now what I've done, I've let my dwell time there. What I am going to do is, because it's a glass surface and sensitive, I'm going to actually do a clean microfiber wipe. Okay, that's just applying a little bit of friction, so if there is anything left over on there, it's definitely going to remove that. Taking a clean swab, basically going back to the same area of the phone. Some people have a smaller area, some people will have a larger area, but I'm rotating the swab as usual. Okay, taking this, breaking my little activator swab or pin, going to shake that up about 10-15 seconds or so, and we'll see how well I actually cleaned. And I'm not guaranteeing any results, but we'll see how it was. Remember, we were 966. Okay, I'm putting my new reading in after I've cleaned, pressing the OK button, and in 15 seconds, and I'm going to let you see it first. Okay, we were at 966. We've actually cleaned properly. and we'll see if we're gaining or losing. Okay, so let's just take a look at this in one more second. What you can see is I've cleaned that surface to 12. Remember our ratings? If you're between 10 and 20, that's usually food processing approved, all kinds of food service type things. If you're an operating room, it's 10 and under. So I think we've done a pretty good job of cleaning this. And more importantly, if I'm the custodian, I'm going to feel better about what I've achieved because I've gone from 966 down to 12. That is a superior result. That will actually help you reduce the risk of an outbreak in your facility. And then you've got scientific validation, and it relates to your standard operating procedures and the software program. So you've got validation when anybody comes into your facility and says, what have you done? Well, here it is, scientific results. Thank you.